When video game developer DICE was founded, they made a variety of games from pinball to racers. But after the smash success of their multiplayer shooter Battlefield 1942, the company focused more and more on the Battlefield franchise. By the mid-2000s, every DICE game was from that series. In July of 2009, only a month after Battlefield Heroes dropped, they released Battlefield 1943, a direct sequel to the game that started it all. While this was also a downloadable game, this time for Xbox Live and the PlayStation Network, 1943 was a thoroughbred hardcore title. Even though it only cost $15, DICE treated the project as though it were a full game. It ran on the same Frostbite engine as Bad Company, featured varied and balanced guns, and had land, sea, and air vehicles. Unlike other budget titles, which stripped out features to make it cheap, DICE threw in everything but the kitchen sink, but only on 4 maps. The belief was that hardcore gamers, usually shy of downloadable titles, would flock to this hardcore approach. They were right.
They didn't diminish the core experience of playing a Battlefield game. The mantra all the way through that project was that it's a slice of a full game. Yes, it doesn't come with 8 or 12 or 16 levels or 4 theaters, whatever it could be, but it's the experience when you get it and play it. It might as well have been a slice out of a AAA product that you buy in a box. And looking back, it really worked out.
When Battlefield 1943 released, it set both first-day and first-week sales records for downloadable titles. It received glowing praise for being the first budget title to be truly first-rate, and remains one of the most played games on Xbox Live. In the space of only 2 months, DICE had released 2 Battlefield games. A normal studio might consider taking a well-deserved break. DICE announced Battlefield Bad Company 2. Bad Company 2 would be a return to conventional game making, a huge, mega-budget title sold in stores at full price. But they still managed to put in a welcome surprise. Hardcore Battlefield was coming back to PCs. The title was being developed for Windows, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3, making it the studio's biggest endeavor to date. The Frostbite engine and its destructible environments returned in full force, as well as another full campaign that continued the story of the first title. Listening to their critics, DICE toned down the humor a bit for the sequel. However, even reined in, it was still a fun B-movie story with misfit characters, this time on an epic quest to save America. It was widely praised as an improvement over the original game's storyline. But as always, the major seller was the multiplayer. While it was in many ways the same old Battlefield experience, DICE had now refined it to perfection. When the game released in March 2010, there was cause for some concern. 2009's monster hit Modern Warfare 2 had swallowed its competition whole. Bad Company 2 was also a contemporary combat game. EA was betting that the Battlefield name was strong enough to compete against the juggernaut. And they were right. After receiving great reviews, Bad Company 2 released to sales beyond their expectations. EA finally had an answer to their rival Activision's Call of Duty brand.
Everyone stand by. Enemy explosive. Get this shit, motherfucker! Looks like Objective Bravo's ours now.
And then they announced that they had another answer. EA decided to resurrect their World War II franchise Medal of Honor as a modern-era game.
Confirmed 10 against hits in the last 48 hours from Gunfighter 6. We are 30 seconds out.
More so even than Battlefield, this series was going to be a direct competitor to Call of Duty. EA would spare no expense, going all out to make the game as good as they could, and then market it with all their muscle. EA LA was tasked with making the campaign. But for the multiplayer, the publisher could think of no better studio than DICE. In a huge show of confidence in their Swedish branch, EA gave DICE full responsibility for Medal of Honor's multiplayer component.
We felt really honored to be asked to do the multiplayer component. The team's motivation here has very much been to find kind of a good middle way of what Medal of Honor, in their eyes, is how the perception of the single-player component, but also base it on the experience that we built up through the years when it comes to first-person shooting in the Battlefield franchise.
Strangely, two different developers on one game also means two different engines: Unreal 3 for the campaign and Frostbite for the multiplayer. DICE has promised that Medal of Honor will not be a Battlefield clone, with its greater emphasis on infantry combat and smaller maps. The game is set to release in October of 2010.